talk right now, and Aarti will be talking after her. That's okay, right, Aarti, for you?
Hello, hello.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine.
Perfect. Hi, Viola.
Hello, Anu. How are you? How are you all?
Good, good,
Greeting
good.
from Cyprus.
Yes. So I'm introducing you a beautiful person over here, a beautiful soul who's been through transitions one after the other. And when I was hearing her story, I was just sitting down and actually doing this to myself and saying, wow, that too happens. Still people survive. And they don't just survive, they live. And they live so beautifully that you have everything to learn from them. So introducing Viola to you. Viola, please come online. Thank you.
Hello, hello, everybody. It's my pleasure to meet you all and be here again with Anu.
Yeah, this is her second talk with us. And Viola, could you please tell people what you really do? Because people don't know that. I've just given them, oh, you're a beautiful soul, but they really don't know what is it that you really do.
Well, I'm personal and corporate advisor. I'm a transcultural psychotherapist and systemic breathing trainer and mentor. Also, I'm the owner of 2 businesses that work in self-development and professional development. And yes, I work with individuals, with groups, with family businesses, and as a advisor and consultant for businesses. And also I sit and advise different foundation, NGO network. I'm a humanitarian and I work for human rights and social justice.
Wow, that was a long list, wasn't it, guys? And really, when she was telling me, she said, I didn't complete my education. So could you talk about your education and why you couldn't complete it?
Yes, well, I was and I'm still I'm a books lover, but we changed country twice for different reasons, losses and grief. The first change we did, it was from Iraq to Lebanon when I was 5, because my dad died when I was 3.5, and he was the Iraqi, my mom was Lebanese. So we changed country. So we lived in Lebanon for 8 years, and when I was 13, and when the situation was not very stable in Lebanon before the war, my mom decided, and it was a very good decision, to leave the country and migrate to Venezuela. So when we left Venezuela, I was 13 years old and I'm the eldest. And it was a very difficult situation and I had to stop school and start working.
So what are your earliest memories of your dad? And why were you named by the name that you have?
Oh, yes. So my dad was an engineer working in a petroleum company, but by heart he was a musician. They had a band in the 50s for jazz and blues. And then I'm his first daughter. So he wanted so much to connect me with music. So my name Viola or Viola is from that beautiful musical instrument. It was a strange name back then. And for many, many years, I didn't know anybody else with my name. So yeah, what I get from that is I have, when you're so child, you don't know what is real and what is memory and what is all the story you have heard. But what I know about my dad is that he was very relational, very friendly, multi-talented, and these kind of people that they have their house open and very solid friend. And I think my sister and me, we inherited all these qualities to be multi-potentialite and speaking different languages and having curiosity and interest in different things. Yes.
Absolutely.
And hardworking people.
Your father connected people with music, and music has no language.
Exactly.
And you connect with people with your breath work, and breath work has no language.
Indeed.
And it's such a beautiful connection. So if you were to close your eyes and look back at you being at 3 years of age or 2 years of age, and if you were to look back at that 2 years, that 3 years, that 1 year, what would you say? Was it a great childhood or was it a difficult childhood? That first 3 years.
Those first 3 years were amazing years. I was so expected and loved and cherished. And I remember I can have these cellular memory plus all the stories that my mom and some other members of the family told me. I think it was really, really nice, beautiful years. Yes, very, very loved and cherished. And my mom, she's like I was her everything by then. They wanted very much to have children. They have 2 miscarriages before me, and when I come, I was very expected. And I was saying to Anu, I still have this energy in me when I go to a new place, and wherever I go, I enter to the place like everybody is expecting.
Yes. That's so beautiful. Can you imagine reaching every place as if you were expected? Now, that's something that she gets from her first 3 years. So, from here, you went to another place and your mom couldn't stay back where she was. Was there any specific reason that you had to move?
Yes, well, my dad, unfortunately, when he was 29, he got a heart attack and passed away immediately. Then my mom was 24 and pregnant with my sister. And she get into trouble also. It was such a shock. So the first 2 last months of pregnancy were very difficult. And so my sister, when my sister was born, she was born very ill. And it took like around 10 months to really get her stable in her health. And that episode kind of awakened my mom after she gave birth, awakened her to life and to her motherhood and her responsibility. And she fought with whatever she could. So my sister was safe, and she's a beautiful, amazing being. And then my mom in her youth, and my mom being foreigner in Iraq and with 2 little daughters, and it was a little bit of a tricky regime back then. We're talking about early 60s. She decided to, even though she had full support of my father's family, but still, she decided to go back to Lebanon and live with her own family. And then we left and we went back. We left in 64 and we went back to Iraq to visit my father's family after a couple of years. And then regime was a little bit more, I would say, quite more difficult. And when we were leaving at the airport, the authorities said that as Iraqis, we could not leave. We could not leave the place. If my mom wanted to leave, she could leave because she was a foreigner, but we could not leave. So in a way, she had to work hard and to take us out, and we could never again go back to Iraq. So that was quite something. This is a country that we were born and lived there the first year. So it was quite determined that we never again went to Iraq. So that's my list. One day I should go back.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine what it means to not have a dad and then to stand at the airport and authorities telling you that you're going to get separated from your mom. I really cannot even think what that feels like to a young kid. Could you explain to me what that feels like?
Yes, very interesting that we're talking about that, because with all the things now to the lockdown and the airport, I had memory about that. It was very scary. But then here is my mom. Here is my mom with her. My mom was like a tigress. She left her body 4 years ago, but I remember my mom like fighting and with everything she could, but she managed to find a lawyer. She managed to whatever I mean, it was a very big fight, and we stayed in that place, and we lost the flight, and we managed to take another flight, but we never again could go back. It was very scary, and of course she will not have left without us, but she managed to take us out.
I'm glad she was able to do that. And I'm sure that kind of connected you guys rock solid. And it made you even more stronger as a group, like three of you together. So what did you by then understand about death, separation, struggle? I mean, you were too young, but did it have impact in your life?
Well, it was it was a struggled life then all the way through, because when we moved to Lebanon, we spoke Assyrian. We didn't speak Arabic, so we learned how to speak Arabic, and then it was struggling, because I think I went in like my memories of myself is that I kind of disappear into that little gray child with books that nobody know when I start reading, and when maybe I have this fantasy about myself holding the book even at an age that I couldn't read, but it was a good place to hide behind. And meeting the new family, adapting to a new space, the grief, because really it was a big loss losing my father. I remember being called orphan many times by other people. Oh, this is like they are orphan, and then we have my sister who come to life in a home that were living a tragedy, and then her first year of life were not easy. But anyway, with the love of my mother and her family, we survive and we grow. And my mom had a small business and like a small supermarket, and we that she had with her family, and we lived in Beirut, and she did a lot of effort to give us the best. And I just love books and love schools. But then it was again, it was like situation was not stable. And it seems like, again, we needed to make another move. And the story gets repeated because we migrate in 72 from Lebanon to Venezuela. And then in 75, a war started that lasted 15 years. So we never again went back to Lebanon.
15 years.
Yes.
Wow.
So that was another. So there were all these kind of different episodes of like the death of the father, like is definitive, is fatal, is no return. So I think we recreate that many times in our life. For that, it took me years of therapy, years of self-development, so I could really go through those experiences and be able to heal myself from the loss of the father, the country, the family, the languages. My mother tongue changed 3 times. So it was a very interesting life.
Wow. So tell me, what were you hiding from when you were hiding behind that book?
Pain, causing more trouble. I had this feeling that I could not do anything to cause any trouble. So I was like this very good little girl. Later on in life, I said, Mom, weren't you worried about me? I was so good. She said, no, you were perfect. But I stopped being good in my teenage, that good. So I gave her some trouble later on in life. But in my childhood, my perception is like, I really need to be quiet and not cause any more trouble to this family that is going through so many pain and trouble.
And your mom never looked for another relationship?
Well, I don't have photos here. No, she dedicated for us her life to us, and for us it took her long years of grieving. And then I remember the day after 5 years when she had a dream with my dad, and she decided to change her clothes and to go to a party, and she took me with her. And she was a beautiful, strong woman, very connected with life and with families in general. But she didn't remarry my mother.
Wow, we would love to see what your mom looked like. And You could always send me
Yes,
photographs of
I
that
will
too.
send you a
Yeah,
photo.
that would be really, 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 really nice. You said,
I can tell you I'm an attractive woman, and my mom was an amazingly beautiful woman.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And you're absolutely right. For you are an amazingly beautiful woman. And can you tell people how old you are? I mean, you know what? You are so pretty. I want people to know that it's so nice to see someone so well groomed, so well kept together, so beautiful and so poised and so graceful. So what really is your age right now?
61 and a half. By March 14, I will be 62.
Wow. Guys, I just want you to know that there is,
Yeah.
a lot of women in India think that once they reach an age, they don't need to dress up. I'm not talking about everyone, but some still hold that belief that once you've crossed your, a certain age, whatever that age is in their head, then you just have to sit back and give up on yourself. So here is a most graceful, beautiful, amazing woman sitting in front of you of resilience and grit. So Viola, take me through the time when you really gave trouble to your mom, because you were quiet and then something shifted. What shifted?
Really? You want to hear about that part?
Of course. I
Well,
mean, you know what? We always say this in Indian Bollywood movies. What is a movie without the masala? Masala is the spice and the taste to it. Otherwise it's a bland story, right? If you're
well,
too good, you're just a good girl. And that's also scary, because good girls don't experience life sometimes. They sit
well,
and hide behind the books.
certainly I had a lot of masala then.
So let's talk about it.
Well, when we migrate to Venezuela, I was 13, and I think I felt I'm gonna die. I felt really like death was so close, because it was like a huge change. Now, of course, I'm talking about Venezuela of the 70s, such a beautiful, amazing country. Like, oh my God, Venezuela is so beautiful geographically, and people are so nice. But, this is migration. This is going and living with other family members' houses. This is sharing, small places with other cousins. And for me, I think I was quite quiet child, and quite silent and quiet. And I was like in my own world with those books. And for me, it was like too much of exposure and noise, and I think that crushed me in a way, very, very difficult. Plus the school, the new language, all the things. So I started working in a shoe store that belonged to my uncle. And I think I had just like a shift of personality, because maybe something really gone away from me, like a death. And I start bring my voice out, learn the language very quick, learn Spanish very quick, because I spoke French. And these bubbly, I don't know, another girl come out, like a survival, the one who needed to talk and practice and practice the language and do so many things. Like, it's like passing from childhood to womanhood without passing to teenage. I think this is also what happened to me. And then early on, I start, smoking. And I remember when I start smoking like a lot. And then I fall in love also very, very early age, because then we had that business of my uncle here, let's imagine, and we lived on the top, and there were another business here, which there were another Lebanese family that they arrived before us 1 year or so. And the younger son was 1 year older than me. And he spoke kind of the same accent as me. And well, it was very easy to fall in love with that young man. And then we enter into, it's like I passed from being a child to be a woman. And then fighting to find a school system that I could do, come back at at that early age, it was almost impossible. So then my mom said, it will be better for you to learn a trade. And the trade chosen for me was hairdressing, and which I'm still not very good with my hand, but that what was available. And I just didn't like it. So at the beginning, I kind of escaped, but I had to do it, it was our survival. So anyway, so I started the hairdressing, and it took a little bit of time to learn it because I was so bad, but I learned it. And then I was like 14 when finally my father's brother, after many, many years, find us where we were in the world and come and visit us. And he offered us to move country and to go to Canada or US, where we had many members of my father's family. So at the age of 14, I went with my uncle for 3 months trip. And I was the one in charge for my family to decide if we will stay in Venezuela or we will move to another country. And I remember that I was so young to make that decision. But then I made that decision after 3 months being around with my uncle to stay in Venezuela, because I was terrified then from the coldness of the weather in Canada, in Toronto, and many things like this while I was growing up. And then and the unhappiness being hairdresser. And one day one of my friends find out how unhappy I was, and she said, let's find you another job. So I know that was a no for my mom, because my mom thought then I do hairdressing, and she can help me in the business, and I will teach my sister, and all that plan that she had for me. And then my friend helped me to put small announcement in a newspaper about being a telephonist and what you call them, typewriter.
Yes.
And so we did that. I left that job one day, mm-hmm. and went to different interview, and I find a job for myself without saying to my mother, and escaped from hairdressing. And so that was very painful for her, because not the idea of working nearby home and including her and my sister in the business. We were living in the West, and I was working far, in the east of the city. So then it was years of me sleeping 3 hours, spending a lot of time in the traffic, having a job in the morning, a job in the afternoon, and also without asking her, I find my way to schooling at night. That was a huge negotiation I did. I find a system that will accept young people at 16, but I was 15. So, so I went and negotiate, and it took me 4 hours of negotiation, but they accepted me at 15. And they were so touched that they offered me a job in the morning, and they give me a scholarship. So now I'm studying at night. So I have a job in the east in the morning, another job in the afternoon, and I studied, and I come back around 12, after 12 midnight. So that for my mom at the beginning, it was really, really not nice, But she understood me, and she allowed it to happen. But we had some fight until that happened, and some, agreement and disagreement, and until we went through. But that meant that for some years, I slept only 3 hours, and I was all day away, and just come home after midnight, and had to leave home in the dawn to start that journey again. And and then life start in another way, So those were years that me and my mom we were not very good friends in that time. Very challenging.
I can imagine. You also spoke about an addiction that you got created with, and you said something very beautifully when we were talking. You said death always has an impact, and death had touched you in the ways that you didn't even realize that it had touched you. The separations, the hardships that you had gone through had touched you in a way. What was the addiction, and how did you come out of it?
Yeah, so first I have the addiction of being a chain smoker, smoking 5 packs a day. I remember mom telling me, I can't imagine you without being involved with smoke around you. Very intense. And then I went into alcohol when I was 20 and went very intense too. So here we are talking about the 80s, and at the beginning is like part of our life to drink almost every day through the work or when we come out of work. But later what I discovered in my therapeutical work was my addictive personality. So I went a little bit strong on it, and I went into alcoholism, and very intense. But fortunately, in my early 30s, I managed to stop smoking and stop alcohol. I don't drink since 1991.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And you also then created a new business. I remember you saying something very significant in the terms of your sister and your friend helped you out. Could you just narrate to us what were their words that kept you going, and what did you really do after that? I mean, you called it the 9 years, golden 9 years. So what created those golden 9 years? Who gave you
Okay,
that
so yes, sure. So from 13 on, I was developing as in the business world, in the corporate world, and as I told you, from being how do you call them? In a shoe store at the beginning, and then hairdressing, and then being a telephonist, and then later working in embassies because in an embassy because I speak languages, different languages. And then I developed by the age of just before 21, I was already marketing manager of a company. And then after that, we had that company closed, and then I had to restart. And in the last 10 years, from, I would say, let me see, from 83 to 93, I was in the insurance business. First in a company as a broker, and later in a trust national insurance company. So that made me working for 21 years for others. And when I was around 34, I was really, really done by that stage of my life. Through all these years, I kept my studies, alternative studies. I did transactional analysis, transpersonal psychotherapy, meditation, and then mindfulness, mentoring in the way how we know it back then. And then I find out about conscious connected breathing and what's the breath work. And by then I also was a patient in psychoanalysis because I wanted to heal. I wanted to get out of that grief and that depression, and because I had this mode of being very active and very dynamic, but that grief in my heart of the loss of my father and the countries and whatever I accumulate through the years. So I went into a deep process as a patient, and in that time I learned about breathwork and went to start my training. And so I was 34 when I get the energy and the grit to quit my work, that by then I was in a level of management and very comfortable. And this friend of mine, whose name is Neida, she was a consultant that I met through the work, and I used to look up to her, and she was great friend. She's still my great friend. And she told me, go for it, I'll help you. And
Wow.
as I told you the other day, literally she helped me with her presence, with her guidance, and economically she helped me. And I managed to move from the work in an insurance company to continue my studies as a breathwork mentor, and went to United States and trained with the founder and the creator of that methodology, and started my own business in 1993. And then by then my sister was in United States studying and working, and after 2 years she came back to Venezuela, and together we worked together for some years, and those what I call the golden years, because I was with the correct subject at the correct time in the correct place. It was the boom of self-development in South America. So I did great work in Venezuela, was a lot in TV and radio and magazines, and then I did a different trip to Central America, South America, US, and develop more and spread that technique. And my friend, Neida, the one who helped me, later she trained me to be a consultant. And together with her, we worked many years as business consultant. And we were pioneering in what was emotional intelligence and all this work in the business world. So we had beautiful work, beautiful years. Yes.
Wow. And why did you leave that? What happened?
Because in one of my trips, and I become internationally well known and was going around the world, and the world in like South America, in America continent. And then finally I came to Europe to one conference that is the International Breathwork Foundation, and they do every year a conference called Global Inspirational Conference, where for 7 days, 7 nights, they are together working in the different technique of breathwork and in how many areas of work and life we can apply it. So I came in 99 to Spain to one of these, my first conference in the IBF. And I met the last day of that conference. I just felt this great. We were in a room, in a big tent, like 130 people, and I was there. And suddenly I felt that call, like really, it was like an energetic call that I looked to the right, it was not there, and I looked to the left. And there were like a straight line to a man sitting like 2 or 3 meters from me, minding his own business, looking to the front. It just was something so beautiful that I felt a call, something that we still don't have the name for it. And then what I did, me being me, I took pen and paper and sent him a note telling him, so sorry, dear 3 dot, I don't know what's his name, and so sorry we didn't meet, but thank you so much for sharing your beautiful energy with me. And it was like kind of innocent note, but it was active note too. So I passed that until he got it in his hand, and he opened the paper and he read and smiled and looked at me and smiled. And in the break we went out to talk, and we are together since then. So I left Venezuela because I met this beautiful, amazing man. I have to say that until then, I could not manage with a relationship, you know. I could not manage to stay long in a relationship because I could not manage this space of when you got out of the honeymoon stage of a relationship. But by then I was 40, I had a lot of years of therapy and mentoring, and I had a lot of study about consciousness and contemplation, and I felt like I was aligned, you know. I was like, because for I think for most of my life since I was 3, I think I was like, myself was like zigzagging. My mind was in a place, my heart was in another place, my guts were, you know, it's like I felt fragmented. And as I start working in myself in my early 30s, it took a long time, but I start like becoming this feeling of being aligned, you know. I hope you understand me. Not
Of course.
a one. And that was the time when I met Michael, my husband now. And then after 3-4 years of transatlantic relationship, when we decided to live together, to marry, by then Venezuela's situation was not that good, and he was living in France, south of France. He didn't want to continue there. And he had a piece of his heart in his birthplace, which was Cyprus. And we decided, and he had a house here. He has a house where we live now. And we decided, let's have a try. Let's go there. In that time, I thought, I have a lot of experience working. I will be able to recreate myself, but I don't have experience in relationship. Let's do it. Let's go. And I just there. I don't know how I did it now. The force of love, I guess. And I was stronger, but I just, so, you know, I closed part of my business, and the other part, my sister continued with it in Caracas, and left friend, family, setting, name, fame, and just moved to Cyprus, you know. Just did an action that I guess women have done for many, many years, and I just did it. And Nobody understood how I did it, I think, including him, but I did it. And it was not that easy, but I did it.
And it's been how many years now?
I moved in December 2002.
Wow, that almost 18 years. And in these 18 years, she's created new businesses. She's written books, almost about the 9th book now. And I really am intending to ask her here because she's written books on intimacy, sex, and how to be in bed. And I was telling her, you must talk about it. Because that's one area that is very shied on, is a taboo topic even today. So give us some tips.
I didn't write a book, How to Be in Bed. The name of the book is Who Makes the Bed.
Sorry.
I know. I know.
That's typically me. Okay, but you did write on intimacy, didn't you?
Well, it's step to be nurturing the intimacy in a relationship, because for me, intimacy is friendship, is being intimate with the self, and being intimate with your companion is beyond the age and beyond the body change, and of course it includes sexuality and sensuality, and include letting love in, because a lot of people live together for many years but they don't let love in because of trauma of the past, or because they never learned the language of love, or even though create family together and have children and live many years together. So the book is about, include some chapter of my first book of self-development, that first book I wrote in 1999, and then include how is it that communication is so important in relationship, communication, love, and healthy sexuality, sharing values, sharing duties, sharing some entertainment. We don't have to be the same. We don't have to be the same. In fact, we attract opposite, as me and him, you know, we're so different. But how to find the space that we can live, how we can be individuals, respected individuals, that we share a life together, and where we meet and where we keep space for individuals. So the book is about that. And it's about not to be scared of asking for help. Because look, I'm a therapist myself. He is also. And when we moved together, we were so different. Like, I want to tell you, love is not enough. It's like you really need a lot of communication skill to learn how to be in agreement when you're not in agreement. Because when we're in agreement, it's okay. But what happens when we're not in agreement? And point that are very important for us. So even me, like the first 2 years of my living together with Michael was really difficult. And more than once I thought, like I you know, we have a joke that Michael is calling the airline and saying, here she come again, tell her there's no places for tonight. Yeah. and you know, I live in Cyprus, that is a divided island. So when we cross from one side to another, we have to show passport. And so I'm with my passport all the time in my bag. And I remember once how I fantasized, you know, just going to the airport, you know, because it was so difficult, you know, like I was almost 44 when I married for first time, and living with a person that I love dearly, but is coming from another culture, another way of living and seeing the world. So what I tell you in that book, please ask for help. Don't be alone. Don't live your painful processes alone. It's another time, and there is so much accessibility to books and to mentors and to coach and to counselor, and any other thing. Like also we talk in the book about how addiction break intimacy, how really this is one secure one that will break intimacy, and how to do when, if you are trapped in an addiction or your companion is, how to ask help. So it's a beautiful book. Find it, is in Amazon, and we're relaunching soon. I have a beautiful publisher now, whose name is Beyond Publishing, that we're gonna relaunch the book, and the name is Who Makes the Bed, because that's in honor of we have too many agreements to do in a relationship. In us, I change the sheets and he make the bed.
Wonderful, wonderful. So guys, please to go out there and search for her book, and it's worth every read because so beautifully she said, it's not enough to be in love. You've got to learn how to communicate and speak the language of love. We know many languages, but language of love is very miscommunicated, very misunderstood. And that's why I was joking with her. And to be really honest, I don't think only sex is enough or just sexuality is also enough. Because in many, many marriages, when people are really, really old, it's not sex or sexuality that keeps them together. It's something else more than chemistry. What do you say about that, Viola?
Yeah, chemistry, communications, healthy sexuality, love, some type of love. It changed the meaning of love depending of the culture. And remember, every time two people come together, there is traditional issues because we love according to our tradition. We love according to what we understand love is, what we understand respect is. I remember always this couple who come to me. I was working with her and he came a little bit late, very upset, and he said something like, do you think any judge will give her a divorce? She wants to divorce me because I bought her a house. And she said he got a house. He got a house without asking me. He built a house without asking me. None of my needs are made. It's our saving for so many years, you know. And it was so, some people said, oh, but she's lucky that she get a house. So it's depend of who we are and how we are, what does it mean, not only which values we share, but what does it mean, the value of respect? What does it mean, honesty? What does it mean, loyalty? So it's a very important work to do in a relationship. I've been counseling relationship for many years, and don't you think that because maybe you married somebody from your country is going to be easier? Yes, if we speak the same language, if we have the same tradition, some things are easier, but some other things are same, not easy, because in your house, the things were done in some way and in his or hers were different. And here we are, two people wanting to create something. And at the beginning, we attract the opposite, and later we want to do the opposite exactly like us. This is one big part of the fight, that we it's not easy. It's not easy to respect the individuality and to give space to see how it will work in his way or in her way. Let's give a little bit of space. So, you know, and it's a lot of the power game in a relationship. And many of us, we didn't grow up in a perfect homes to understand everything about life, isn't it? So yeah, it is a whole journey. And I wish you all to find yourself and the other person also in that journey. And I want to tell you, when people in our path, spiritual path, for me, when they talk about unconditional love, is something that make noise for me. I don't think love is unconditional. I think love is infinite. Of course, it's beautiful, but I think love is infinite and relationship is conditional. It's conditional to the values that we share or we break. So if my companion will break my value and I cannot live with him anymore, maybe I will not stop loving him in the immediate. Love cannot, it's not like a key that I push and it finished. Love can last longer, but maybe is the condition of what it was broken between us, that we need to see how we fix, what next decision we're gonna make.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And remember, when people don't learn how to communicate, I would say 50% of divorces are not about love. People still love each other. It's about communication, it's about agreement, it's about violation of rights. So there is a lot to learn about relationships, a lot.
Absolutely. And I was laughing because most of the women in India would have jumped and would have called themselves very lucky if he built the house. And so, I mean, I couldn't stop my laughter. The last question that I want to ask you, and it's something that caught caught my ears, actually, not caught my eye, was when you said that you moved from one country to another. And yet, with every new chapter that began in your life, you understood that you were not starting at a ground zero. Could you
Yeah.
explain that a little bit more? Because that was so beautiful. It gave me a new insight to a new beginning. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Because of all these changes, and I, at the beginning, when I was a child and a teenager, I lived them as death, like the death of that country, the death of that stage of my life. And through my youth, I was so scared to, I remember that I was in a state of alert all the time. Like I could not just totally relax unless relaxation coming from the drinks and etc. But when I start in the process of healing and when I start recovering myself, one day I understood that that fear of starting from zero again is like, no, I'm not a child anymore. And I'm a person that accumulated experiences, knowledge, tool, I'm multi-potentialite. I, you know, even though I didn't like hairdressing, I still know how to hold scissors in my hand. You know, I still know how to do a haircut. Yeah, even though I didn't do since the 70s, I only used to cut my mom's hair. What I mean is like when life gets ups and down, and when again we need to do a change because of a situation bigger than us, like now what we're going through, or like so many dear friends has to leave their countries or leave their cities or lost their businesses, yes, after being there. I want you to remember that it's not from zero. Your capital is what you are, is your quality, is your experience, is the languages, is the tools, is the trade, is the skills, is your gift from life, like your intuition, your connectedness, your loyalty, your values, and all that. It will be put together to serve you in this new stage of your life, even though it's not what you wanted, even though you didn't want to change what you had. But I want you to know that you have with you a big box of skills and tool and gifts that is your real capital. And you will take it with you wherever you go, wherever life will throw you. You will be that person. And then you will start again, but not from zero. You will start again from someplace. That is what you're taking with you. And this is what happened with me in my last move. And this is what happened with me now with the COVID, that my business was built face-to-face. I train, I'm a consultant, I'm a business consultant. I have a program of 400 hours where people come from different parts of the world and stay with us here to be trained as breath worker and mentor. And all that suddenly stopped. You know, I couldn't go, they couldn't come. And how I saw myself, like in 1 week, we were organizing a new program with my sister, a new company that will be offline, online. And I had like all the things of my life just come and felt that something gonna be longer, something gonna happen, and transform that part of my business very quick. Like in 10 days we were out.
Wow.
Yeah. And I know you, if you get into the consciousness of your wealth, of all what you are, your experience and your knowledge about many things, you will be able to do the same too. To just not to go into another victimacy, just to stand on your feet and be able to continue life while you take a breath and see what's next. This is what I wanted to tell you. Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I'm going to open questions for everyone to ask Viola. Do you have any questions for her or feedback? I really, really appreciate your time today, Viola. You have just put light on some most amazing things. Anybody having a question for her or feedback?
Viola, do you have children?
I don't have children, no. I have 3 stepchildren. And I have stepchildren, not my own children. I have
Okay.
three step boys and 4 grandchildren.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of things you say. Everyone has his own toolbox, which they can use and work with. And it's important to remember your toolbox.
Very important.
Yeah, very important not to, and I always say, and don't have fear. Just go for it, and the why and how will come later, but just do it, you know, and have faith.
Yeah, my husband, who's extreme sport, he would say, we feel fear too, but we feel it, and we do it anyway. So, you know, so you will feel the fear, you will feel it, you fear it, you feel it, and do it anyway consciously, you know. And remember, life will challenge you again and again. Who would think about this COVID thing? Who would think about this situation we live in now? This COVID-19.
It's a fantastic situation because we learned a lot of new things. We learned that we have too much abundance of a lot of things which we don't need. And it's a gift also at the same time.
Yeah, like many situations in life, we will go. That's one of my teacher, one of the methodology I work with, which is positive psychotherapy. The founder of that, Dr. Nosrat Beseshkian, would say, look at the positive side of everything. Look at the whole picture. It's not like pain doesn't exist, but keep looking. And the other thing he would say, life will take you out of balance. Learn and go back to balance. And will take you out of balance in another way. Learn again and go back to balance. And you know, this is beautiful teaching too. Yes.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So profound.
Thank you, Anya.
So profound. Anybody else would like to ask a question or give a feedback?
No questions, Anu. Viola, thank you so much. Really very good to hear. And I can connect off, leaving the country, because I hear it from my parents during partition. It's a different scenario where they had to leave a country, but the difficulty of, leaving a country and moving and starting again is something which has very profound impact on an individual, and you had it quite early in your life. And I love beautifully how you concluded, that look at, you have a box of skills. And last, what you said, sorry, I do not remember the name you said, where look at, in every difficult situation, also there is some positive. This is exactly one of my mentors always told me, that, even in the most difficult situation, if you look positive, there will be at least 5 positives that still exist. And you need to continue to move on. And yes, life will be full of challenges always. I remember Amitabh Bachchan's favorite statement. Amitabh Bachchan, if you know, he's one of the biggest actor in Bollywood. And he says that till your last breath, there will be challenges in your life.
Yes.
So one has to be, prepared to take them. Thank you so much for sharing so generously.
Thank you. And talking about last breath, maybe I'll tell you a last story before I leave. In 2017, I was in The Hague, in the World Center of Conferences, and it was the Women Economic Forum first day, and I had a lot of work before. I had a very difficult case. Obviously, I was not very focused. The fact that I fall from the stairs like 6 steps on my head, bang. And I was in the floor. I thought, fractured neck, maybe, I could feel my neck. I was in the floor, and these beautiful women, a lot of Indian women, and they were there. And because I was in concussion, but, I was between here and there. So I saw all these veils and smell, and I thought, oops, I'm gone, I'm going. Is this death? I thought to myself, And then in some moment I thought, how is it to die breathing? you know, so I start breathing consciously. With my neck like this in the floor, you know, fractured. And I think the fact that I connected with the breath, the consciousness, and it's why I didn't lose consciousness, first of all, and kept the sense of humor until the ambulance come and I end in hospital. But one thing I understood from that accident, when you are conscious and aware about your life, how you can die being alive in comparison of the years before, when I was trapped in addiction and confusion and loss and grief, how I was living as a dead person. Yeah, the difference between maybe here in this episode, I will die by being alive, perceiving everything, checking, breathing to the last breath, and I thought in a way, it's okay if I go, it's okay, you know. But I didn't, obviously I'm here with you. But I think it's very important to really heal the past, to really order our life, to really be kind of organize our emotional debts in a way, because our challenges and life is like this, you know. In that moment, I also thought I was 58 and I thought, I lived the double of my father. He passed when he was 29, I was 58. So many things passed through, but I would like to finish this storytelling and interview from your kindness and Anu kindness, space and time, by telling you, let's continue being very aware about our responsibility in life, about our impact, about what we do to ourselves, how Jane Goodall said, what every day, every moment we will have an impact in life is our choice to see what kind of impact we want to leave. And that accompanied me all the way through. For that kind of, in the process of gratitude, forgiveness, conscious breathing, all these things that make us better human beings. And this is what I wanted to finish my interview today with you all.
Beautiful.
Thank you
so much.
You know how it feels? I'm sitting here completely in gratitude to the universe, to you, Viola, and to everyone. I never thought something that began 5 months back would create something so meaningful for me, that I would be sitting at home and no more was I going to learn from just the books. I was going to learn from each one of you. And how lucky am I that I'm sitting at home and learning from the world across. And how many countries, the experience she has, Lebanon, Syria, how many? And that's what I say. I'm the luckiest woman on this earth. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And please allow me to leave, because I need to leave now. Thank you so much. I will follow later on the Facebook.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.